what is your dream for SecurAlarm in the future?
Todd and I have the vision of being what's called an evergreen company, which means you're committed to being privately owned for 100 years or longer.
Yeah.
And so that's really how our exit strategy is some form of generational succession.
Welcome to the very first episode of Thrive Forward, Building Inclusive Success with FOBI. FOBI stands for the Family-Owned Business Institute at Grand Valley State University. We're a center that champions and serves family businesses through scholarship, education, and advocacy. And the purpose of this podcast is to invite family business leaders from West Michigan, where we are located, to share a little bit about what their family businesses do, their experience as family members or family leaders in the family business, to tell us about the story. And more importantly is to discuss about what makes this community what it is today, because we are convinced that it's a very vibrant, interesting and unique business community, family business community particularly, and we want to kind of touch on that and see the characteristics that are more salient in these communities. So joining us today is Brent Van Haren. He is the president of SecurAlarm, a family business in second generation that offers security service with a holistic approach. I'm not sure what that means, but I'm sure you'll tell us.
That's awesome.
Brent, thank you very much for being here.
Yeah, my pleasure.
So Brent, let's start with the first question. What is SecurAlarm?
Yeah, what is SecurAlarm I can cover, but we tend to start with our why we exist. Which is we care, so we protect. So we care, so we protect. And that really drives how we operate, how we look at the world. And so we tend to walk with business leaders, organization leaders, to figure out what will be effective strategies to create safer environments for their team, for their product, their brand. Usually that's in the form of technology mixed with procedure. And it's been a journey. We started as an integrator installing technology. That's really what we have always known and always done. And we've expanded to added a lot of services that we feel like are a lot more relevant to creating safe space. So it's been a fun evolution over the last 10 and 20 years. We've been around for 30 years, so innovating, trying to figure out what's next.
So I'm a client, a potential client, so I'll reach out to you because I have a building or a business or my house, or it doesn't matter?
Building and business, we don't do anything at homes. But yeah, if it's an organization of any kind, then we love to engage and figure out what might help. The origins of SecurAlarm are kind of fun. And my dad was the first full-time employee of a company that my grandfather started called Van Haren Electric. And my grandpa was an electrician in the Navy and then worked for Michigan Bell. And he started Van Haren Electric to really put his kids to work. He has 5 sons and a daughter. And I don't know that, I have to actually ask my dad if they ever got paid for the work that they did. I don't really know how that worked, but it was a way that the family generated some income on the side with working for Michigan Bell. And so for the first probably 10 years or 12 years of Van Haren Electric's existence, it was my grandpa and then their sons doing part-time work and installing electrical at houses, mostly in some small businesses. And then my dad got his teaching degree and found out he did not like teaching. He didn't follow your path.
Okay.
Yeah. And so he became the first full-time employee at Van Haren Electric and would sell services during the morning and then go install them in the afternoon, and did that for a few years and started to gain some momentum. And they started to really gain momentum probably about 10 or 12 years in. And shortly after that, sometime in there, my uncle Brian, my dad's brother, joined. And his background in education was electrical engineering. And so together they were a pretty powerful team. And Van Haren Electric really grew and became pretty successful. I was doing work all over the country for really large organizations. And
oh, really?
Yeah, it was fun for Frito-Lay and for Gordon Foods and Perigo, just really all over the country. They were doing quite a bit of work and having a lot of fun doing it. But in about 2 years before they had a disagreement, they started SecurAlarm as an opportunity to provide a service that wasn't being delivered very successfully in our area. So they'd work with other companies in the area that didn't understand complex construction and complex systems, and they decided that they could do it better and deliver a better outcome. So that's why SecurAlarm was founded by my dad and my Uncle Brian originally. And the first team member that they brought over was my dad's partner, that she became his partner when they exited Van Haren Electric, Gloria Lubin. Mm-hmm. And so what happened was my dad and uncle, they weren't taught communication. We didn't have a FOBI or a Family Business Alliance or any of those wonderful organizations that help understand the dynamics of family-owned business. And so they had different visions for what success really was defined as. Mm-hmm. Without talking about it, they didn't ever really communicate on it. But my dad really wanted to growth and scale was success for him. And my uncle was more about a more manageable boutique size with deep impact, but it wasn't about size or scale. And so by the time they started talking about it, they had already drawn lines on where do we go from here. And it was, one of them had to exit by the time that they really dove in.
So I understand the two visions, but so are we talking about Van Haren Electric or SecurAlarm or both?
Yeah, I know one of your other questions is what's a unique part of SecurAlarm's history. Yeah. And so I kind of jumped to that. Oh, okay. One of the unique parts of our history was it started with the falling out of two brothers that were at Van Haren Electric. And so SecurAlarm was born
unheard of in family businesses, right?
Yeah. It doesn't ever happen. Yeah. Yeah, it's always smooth sailing with family relationships.
Right.
Yeah.
Anyway.
so the SecurAlarm was born out of that.
Thank you for sharing this. There are a lot of details that I didn't know. I want to think about, so what is your dream for SecurAlarm in the future?
Yeah. Todd and I have the vision of being what's called an evergreen company, which means you're committed to being privately owned for 100 years or longer. Yeah. And so that's really how our exit strategy is some form of generational succession. Okay. I have 3 daughters. Todd has 2 sons and a daughter. I don't look at that as they have to work in the business. I want to leave that up to them, and we'll engage with that over time and engage their interests and passion, and I don't want them to feel obligated at all. But they will be stewards of and owners of the business, and really we're trying to grow a family of businesses. Mm-hmm. So it's stewards of that family of businesses. Mm-hmm. And so right now we're 3 or 2 businesses, depending on how you look at it. But our journey is one of generational succession. Mm-hmm. We believe
of ownership, at least, right?
Yeah.
If it's leadership, wonderful, but
leadership,
yeah,
right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, which lots of options, and we won't really know what we need to pursue until.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Older.
You're very young.
My oldest daughter is 11.
Exactly.
Todd's oldest child, his oldest is a son who is 7.
And you guys are too young to be thinking
so we're not thinking about that too much, but we also are, really trying to intentionally grow responsible stewards. Right. My tendency isn't to talk about work at home, and I've had to be really intentional to bring challenges and opportunities and just dialogue into our house and talk about things that are happening, so the girls know what are we doing. I used to shy away from talking about being an owner or a leader or a president because of the entitlement and such that can come with that. And so now I'm realizing I need to talk about that a lot, and on both sides of it, here the challenges and responsibilities and some of the burdens that come with that. Here are some of the benefits and the beautiful things that come with that. And both are important to understand. But my oldest daughter is now starting to ask, Dad, so can I be the boss? I don't like the word boss at all. And I'm like, honey, it's not what you think it is. She's like, yeah, but it's kind of cool. Like,
yeah, it sounds fun. You can't blame her.
It's not at all. No, it's been beautiful. It's been a beautiful dialogue. I'm like,
yeah.
It's not really how it
and
works.
that's, of course, something that an 11-year-old girl would think about, right?
So now we can
that makes sense.
What is leadership?
Yeah.
What is stewardship?
Oh, cool.
And so we're starting to talk about that more. And Addie's starting to ask questions at my oldest daughter. And it's been really fun to talk about it. You know, they're in the business and at the business a lot. We do a lot of family events, like Halloween parties and stuff at work. And so the girls are involved a lot, but it's only recently that we've started talking about what do we do and why do we exist and what does that mean to be an owner, and it's been a really interesting journey. So yeah, we have a lot to figure out still, but we want to structure ourselves so that success is really about longevity.
Yeah, creating, keeping the legacy, I guess, going, right?
The impact, the community impact inside.
So tell me about this ownership, this evergreen?
Yeah.
So why remaining private? So why is that so important?
Yeah, it's a really good question. We've come to really treasure the value that a family-owned business brings to a community and to an organization. And so as we've started to understand that more, that's something that's really important to us that we propagate. And we were blessed with a business that was already successful.
Yeah.
We had to buy it, but so much of the energy and the work, our energy and work is very different. And so we want to pass that along to future generations, because family-owned businesses have they don't all, but many and most have such an impact on the community, such an impact on the team members that work there and the families that are part of that family-owned business. And so that's something that we believe really strongly in and want to continue. The security world and the tech world, we're kind of in the tech space and construction space. We're kind of at the intersection of those two industries. There is so much roll up into private equity and venture capitalist firms right now, and the multiples are as high as they've ever been.
Right.
That we could sell and do really well, and we just have no interest in entertaining that at all. That's just not what drives us. That's not what motivates us, and so we have to figure out what that means, and we have to run the business in a way that's really valuable, because that keeps adding value, right? Yeah, right. Yeah. And that gives you opportunity and freedom to do things in the community, and for your team. And I've had to learn that profit matters, right? And so it's more the mission that matters more. But where there's no margin, there is no mission. Our board has made sure to drill into our brains, and so for those reasons, we love this community. We love the opportunity to serve our team members, and we want to see that carry into the future. Not our legacy, but something that's really important to us.
No, and I get that. I'm just wondering about the future, because you still don't know what. So you have 8?
There are 6 kids in our
6?
families. Yeah, my brother has 2 children, and my sister doesn't have children. But part of that is acknowledging that what motivates the next generation is not necessarily what motivated my dad's generation,
right.
My generation. It's purpose that really motivates the next generation, engages the next generation. And what I've loved is people of my generation and incoming generations to the workforce. As soon as they see the problem, that makes sense. We got to fix that. We got to make it more accessible, more engaging, more open to people of all backgrounds. Because Grand Rapids has the likelihood of having explosive growth over the next 20 years. We don't want to lose what makes us special, and we don't want those barriers for entry to put a ceiling on what's possible in this community. We want to be as we've been for a lot of years, a benchmark, a success story of how you grow as a community in a way that brings everyone with you. Right. And so what's really promising is when you engage with leaders of my age or my generation, and we talk about this problem, they talk about it very openly and candidly. I haven't experienced anyone shy away or try to shut down or tamp down. No, that's not true. It's like, well, if that's what people experience, then that's what they experience. There's not true or false to it. That's the experience. And so there are solutions, but there's a lot of energy being put towards how do we make sure we're truly a welcoming community to all, and one that everyone can really succeed in. That's what you're going to write the case study on.
Right. That's the
what
idea.
Makes West Michigan special.
So I have 3 words, right? I have 3 words that you've given me: authentic, resilient, and purposeful. So. Yeah, we'll see when I get 20 episodes, 30 episodes.
In your research.
Maybe we'll find commonalities. Yeah. So, Brent, thank you very much for this. You were amazing.
Yeah. Oh, my pleasure.
Thank you so much for your kindness, your generosity, your candor.
Thank you for all you're doing. I know sometimes it doesn't feel successful when you do all this research and who reads it and who adopts the lessons that you learn. But your knowledge is being pushed to organizations through FOBI, through the Family Business Alliance, like the wisdom that you and your peers gather. Well, we might not read all the papers. The wisdom
That's
is
okay.
definitely
Thank you.
well received.
Thank you very much.